All right. Well, hello, y'all. My name is Ashley Strong. I'm an independent consultant and a national vice president with Arbonne International. I absolutely love this company, you guys. But alongside of that, I'm also a wife, and I'm a mama. And you guys, I met my sponsor during probably one of the busiest times of my life. I was working as a chief master sergeant in the United States Air Force. I was active duty. I was working easily 60, 70 hours a week. And on top of just the long hours, my schedule was also very unpredictable. It was very demanding and it was very high pressure. And so when I heard the Arbonne story from my friend Sarah, I was intrigued, but I was also very skeptical. And you guys, my biggest hesitation was that I don't have time for another job. Like, I did not want another job. And so maybe you feel that way too, that you go, okay, I want this. I just don't know how I'm going to make this work in my busy life. However, you guys, once these numbers were broken down to me, I realized, okay, this is not another job. This is actually a super smart way to build a long term financial asset. And the reality of my situation was that if I kept doing what I was doing, I was always going to be trading time for money. So I knew that I needed to make it work. The question was how and when, right? And so through this training series, you've heard a ton of tips on the how. I want to break down the when. And just to give you guys a little bit of my background, maybe some credentials that kind of help you, like, okay, I'll listen to what this girl is actually saying. I went district manager in 9 days with no consultants on my team. I went area manager in 40 days with no districts on my team. I went region in 9 months with no areas on my team. And I went nation in 21 months with no regions on my team. Of course, check out earnings.arbonne.com to see what's typical. That is not. Neither is my work ethic, neither is my vision for my future and my family. But you guys, I did that alongside this very demanding, very unpredictable, very long, busy schedule. And the way that I was able to do that was it came from learning some seriously disciplined time management skills. And that's what I want to share some tips with you on today. And so, a truth and maybe a sigh of relief that I can give you is regardless of where you're at in your business right now, regardless of what has happened, what used to happen, what you hope happens, anything like that, regardless of where you actually are, I'll tell you where you are has nothing to do with your ability or your inability, but it probably has a lot to do with how you value, how you invest, and how you prioritize your time. And so, my goal with this training is that I'm going to help you learn how to be the engineer of your time and not the enemy of it, right? Like, we want to master the clock, we don't want to be the slave to the clock. And if you feel like you're always that person that's running around like a chicken with their head cut off, that you're always like, oh my gosh, like, I need more hours in the day, or, when is enough time, or when am I going to do this? Or you're simply just saying no to a lot of things that you want to say yes to. You need some better time management skills. And so the way that I have just kind of figured this out, you guys, is I failed over and over until I got it right. And I still am trying to perfect it. And I'm still a work in progress, as we all are. And so I want to really share with you how to break that cycle of being busy and create the cycle of being productive. Okay, so jumping right into my tips, I'm going to give you 3 tips today, and these are all just like action packed, and we're going to just get after it. So, number one, and I'm so glad that I'm behind a screen and you cannot actually throw tomatoes at me, because number one always triggers people. And this is stop using to do lists and start using a calendar instead. And before you shoot, before you go, I love my to do list. I want to just challenge you on this, right? When you think about some of the most successful people in the world, you think of whoever it is that that person is for you. I always think of like, okay, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos that have built these huge, huge companies, right? Do I think that they're walking around with a to do list? Not at all. And so I want to challenge you and ask you, if you are a to do list lover and user and you're like married to your to do list, how many items on that to do list have been there for 3 weeks or more? Right. And so, not only does using these to do lists kill your productivity because you're actually spending time rewriting list after list after list, but you're not getting that mental gratification of seeing it to completion. Or even worse, and I know that some of y'all have done this because you are my people, right? Have you ever done this? You've got your to do list and you're like, okay, here's my cute little to-do list, and you've got all your stuff done, and none of it's really stuff that you want to do, right? It's just like you need to do it and you wrote it down to just kind of brain dump it. But then what you do is you're like, I'm going to get distracted and go do a load of laundry while I really should be calling prospects. And so what you do is you actually come and write, do laundry, and then you mark it off. You guys, you're marking it off because that is your brain telling you, I desire productivity. And so stop cheating your brain, right? Science says that 40% of items on your to do list don't get done. And so I want to think of you just giving away 40% of your paycheck, 40% of your income producing activity not being done. And you guys, that's how this impacts our bottom line. Our to do list makes us focus on the urgent and not the important because we're constantly looking at it. And the truth of the matter is, our brain is wired to pick the low hanging fruit. And so we're going to look at our to do list and we're going to go overwhelmed, 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 too much, too busy, don't have enough time. That one's super, super easy. So I'll do that. But that's likely not the one that's going to move the needle forward for you in your business. And so instead of a to do list, and I'll even meet you halfway with this because sometimes I have to do this, like we have that mental, kind of Rolodex going where we're always thinking, our brains are always on. We're thinking, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this. Okay, if you need to jot it down, jot it down. But immediately you need to take it to your calendar and say, I'm scheduling these as an appointment, which leads me to tip number 2. And tip number 2 is break your calendar down. You guys, it's the new year. And so people are all, selling planners and talking about planners. And, there's 800,000 bazillion planners out there. Find whichever one you prefer. It doesn't matter. I personally love an old school appointment book style that breaks it down into minutes because I'm a by the minute kind of person. Like, do you remember the ones at like old hair salons where they would pencil you in at like 11:15? That's the kind that I like. I can send you a link to it if you want it. Just hit me up. But you find the one that you're actually going to use and you're going to stick with. For some people, it's on their phone. For some people, they like a paper. I kind of do a mix of both. That works for my brain. But what you're going to do is you're going to get whatever appointment book planner that you like to use, and then you're going to take it another level forward. You're not going to just put stuff on your calendar. You're actually going to time block it out. And so time blocking what you know that you have to do. So for example, if you want to time block a month at a time, then you know that, okay, if you work a full-time job or a part-time job, if you work alongside your Arbonne business, what are those hours? So block that off. If you've got non-negotiable family time or you have, days off or you unplug from social or whatever, block that stuff off. If you have medical appointments with your children, block that off. Basically, every single obligation that you have, block it off. And then what are things that you know that you need to do for your own well-being, right? For some of us, that's reading. For some of us, it's exercising, meditation, pickleball, whatever it is, okay? Schedule that in with a time block. Time block your sleep time next. Most of us are not getting enough sleep, right? So time block your sleep time. And then what you're going to do is take a real look at all of that white or empty space that you have left. And you guys, I'm telling you, I know that some of y'all are super, super busy and some of y'all are like, I'm actually not, right? We've got all kinds of kinds, but even if in a day, the white space that you have is only an hour, I want to put in perspective for you that that compounds to almost a full-time job in a month, you guys. And so if you really look at it and you go, there is no white space at all, where can you sacrifice, right? What can you give up? What can you shorten, right? Maybe you don't need an hour and a half at the gym every morning. Maybe you do a 20-minute high intensity class. Maybe you skip pickleball twice a week. Whatever it is that that looks like, where can you sacrifice to actually get a couple of more hours of work time in? For me, especially when I was still active duty, and a lot of times now being a stay-at-home mom with 2 busy toddlers, it meant I had to wake up earlier. And so waking up just 15 minutes earlier a day, you guys, that's 91.25 hours a year. And so the majority of the time that you're going to see that you have free, it might be some nooks and crannies. But I want to say this in truth and in love, you will not nook your way to nation. Like, you will not nook your way to nation. You're not going to be an accidental 1%er, right? You're not going to become an accidental millionaire. There's going to have to be bulks of sacrifice. So maybe it's your weekends. Maybe it's taking a paid day of leave off of work, whatever that looks like. But you have to prioritize and you've got to carve out some chunks of time if you're truly wanting to level up. And this isn't to do all of the things. This isn't, office organization. This isn't like the doom scroll. This is growth oriented actions that produce income. This is sharing, this is selling, and this is sponsoring. And that is it. Like, you guys, that is our job. Share, sell, sponsor, rinse and repeat. And we've got to become a master of the monotonous of those 3 things. And like, when we do less, we do things consciously better because they're prioritized and we can spend more time and attention on them. And you guys, something that if you are kind of a unicorn squirrel and you have problems focusing, something that always helps me prioritize is something that I call my 3 Bs. And so that's just kind of my gut check when I get asked to do something or go somewhere or whatever. If it doesn't grow my belief, my business, or my bank account, it's a no for now. And so that is breaking your calendar down. Number 3, now that you know where your space is free on your calendar, it's time to start booking. And so actually getting appointments down on your calendar, holding yourself accountable. I always think of it this way, right? Like I remember one time my son, we thought that he had a heart condition and it was such a huge surprise. And they were like, we got to get him into the doctor. And I was like, I want top of the line. I want the best of the best. Like this cannot be misdiagnosed. We've got to figure this out. And this doctor had one appointment for the entire next year. You better believe that I moved everything around to make that appointment happen. I held that appointment and it was happening no matter what. Like no matter what hoops I had to jump through. Because we need to do that with our Arbonne business sometimes. And so I want to give you a tip of what undistracted, intentional, non-interrupted time can look like when you actually use it to start booking your calendar. I had a retreat last year and we had 16 people there and we did this booking blitz event, just kind of like a competition. And you guys, in 1 hour, everybody put their phone on like do not disturb. So nothing else was coming in. And we were just asking. It was like a power hour. Like, we knew our verbiage. We knew what we were going to say. We knew the times that we had open on our calendar because we had went through this training before. And you guys, in 1 hour, 16 people booked 154 events. And within 3 days after that, another 42 events had been booked from, responses rolling in. That's 196 events from 1 hour of intentional, non-interrupted asks from 16 people. And so a trick to that, right, is the things that you put in your calendar, you treat them like appointments. You don't cancel, you hold yourself to them. And if somebody is hosting for you and they want to cancel, immediately reschedule. And so if they're like, nope, I'm out, whatever, your first action is, I've got to fill that appointment. I have to fill that appointment. You've got to put on your business owner hat with this and think my time is money. My money is time. And so if I'm not sharing, selling, sponsoring, I'm not profiting. And so there's so many ways, you guys, that you can do this, especially for my busy people. And if you're a type A perfectionist and you want to do it all, you're going to have to just set that down. Like there's no easier way to say that. Like you've got to just, okay, done is better than perfect. So for example, if you've got a 1 hour block, okay, and that's all that you have for the day, schedule a 45-minute party or event or get together or, whatever you want to call it these days. If you have a 30-minute space, schedule a 15-minute Facebook pop-up party and then do 15 minutes of reach out. If you have those big stretches of 4 hours or more, like I used to have those on my Saturdays when I was working to Go Nation. Saturday was my only free day. And what I would do is I would book 9 to 5 at a local Starbucks, or I would use Sarah's house because I lived on a military base. And what I would do is I would just book one-on-ones like over and over and over. And so I would book people in 15, 20-minute slots. I'd give myself maybe a 5, 10-minute buffer for, them to leave, me to go potty, and the next person to come in. But I would book myself completely solid. And every single minute was accounted for, you guys. In one day, we all have the same 1,440 minutes. And it's just how we use them. And simple tweaks like 1-degree shifts can help you level up your time management and discipline so much. And I want to just give you an idea in just a minute, in just 1 minute, you can write a thank you note. You can send a reach out text. You can introduce yourself to a stranger and start a combo. You can book an appointment. You can ask for a referral. You can make a smoothie video for your social. You can post a cute boomerang with your fizz. You can mail out a sample. You can message a Discover Arbonne recording to a prospect. You can follow up with someone. You can hop on Facebook Live. You can make a new connection on Instagram. You can send a voice message asking a friend to take a look at the biz. You can ask someone to host. You can message someone a recommended cart and say, hey, girl, check this out. And if you did every single one of those things, you would have spent 15 minutes working your business. So we all have it. So those are my top 3 tips. I'm going to give you a couple of just little quick freebies, a couple of other ways to squeeze more time kind of into working your business. Turn off the TV. We have heard there's no QV in TV. So I like to set it to record and use it as an incentive, right? Like, okay, I get to watch this show. We're on Landman right now. We are loving some Landman, but you know what? I'm not watching Landman if I didn't do my goal oriented actions, my income producing activity today. If I didn't do what I said I was going to do and I didn't hold my appointments, then I don't get rewarded, right? Like I'm treat myself like a dog, but it works for me. Take your phone to the bathroom. Like we all spend multiple trips a day in there. So, hey, make it worth it. What can you do, right? Text while you're at the gym, if you're like on the bike or on the treadmill or you're doing something low impact, that hey, you can just send out a couple of message. I always like to use voice message. My energy's higher when I'm working out. It comes across in voice messages. If I'm in waiting rooms with my kids or kids appointments or something like that, I'm doing some work in while you're brushing your teeth, while you're drying your hair. A lot of times I'll ask my husband, hey, can you drive, so that I can work from my phone. If I'm going to get my hair done, if I'm getting my nails done, I'm working. You guys, and so there's so many things, like there's so many little hacks, right, that you can do it. But the biggest hack that you can ever get is to say the word no when somebody asks you to go somewhere or do something that you don't want to do, because no is a complete sentence, you guys, and it's one word that's going to give you so much of your time back. You're the pilot, you're flying the plane, you're in charge of the trip itinerary, and so you've got to be very, very, very specific about what you allow your time to be spent on. And along with those three B's, my belief, my business, or my bank account, I also use a prioritization system called my 4 Ds. And so 3 B's, 4 Ds. In the military, we used a ton of acronyms. It's just the way my brain works. And so the first D is to do it. And you guys, if this is something that I can do and I can knock it out in under 5 minutes, I just do it, right? And so just immediately do it. You don't have to worry about putting it on the to-do list or scheduling it on the calendar or thinking about it. Like that just gives us that mental load that weighs us down and bogs us down and makes us feel overwhelmed, which leads to burnout. So just do it really, really quick. The second D is delay it. And I don't mean delay as in procrastinate. I mean, if this is something that I need to do and it's good for my business, but I can't get it done right now, I go on the calendar, I delay it. Like I'm going to schedule it, is basically what I mean. So I can't do it right this second, but you know what? I've got 20 minutes tomorrow in my white space. I'm going to schedule it in then. The third is delegate it. You guys, this is so hard for us, especially as type A, and for my women on here, that like we like to do it our way. Nobody does it as good as us. Are there things in your life that you are bogged down doing that need to be done, but they don't necessarily need to be done by you, right? Like, can somebody help you cook? Can somebody help you clean? Can somebody run errands, pick up dry cleaning, watch the kids for an hour? What are the things that you can outsource? We use a housekeeper, we use Instacart, we use Target Delivery, we use Amazon. Like, there's different things that we outsource, because even though, yes, I could do it, and even if I have the time to do it, that's not the best use of my time. That's not where my gift is going to be best served to my team, my prospects, or my family. And then the fourth D finally is delete. And you guys, sometimes this is things, sometimes it's people that just don't contribute to my goals. They're more than likely things that you've said yes to and you've committed to, and then you immediately regret it, right? Like, those things that you're like, oh, sure, I'd love to come. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I hope that they cancel, right? Those are the things that you need to say no to, or people that are just too negative to be in your ear when you're going for a huge goal. You guys, sometimes we just have to hit delete. And so this isn't easy to start mastering your time, but it is a season and it's a habit and it's a skill. And so even if right now you're like, I'm not a morning person, I procrastinate, I doom scroll, I get so distracted all of the time, that's okay, because it's not it's just a season, right? The bad news is that time flies. The good news, again, is that we're the pilot. We get to choose how it's used. And typically, the people that complain the most about their lack of time are the ones that use it the worst. And so, marry the time, which is your input, divorce the timing, which is the outcome, because the timing's not in our hands. The work is. And you guys, we can move forward, we can move backwards, or we can remain stuck. And if you're a procrastinator, the good thing is procrastinator is not who you are. Procrastination is something that you do, and that's a habit, which means it can be changed. It doesn't mean it's your identity. And I heard this quote about procrastination, and I want to share with you. It's procrastination is the very arrogant assumption that God will give you another chance to do something that you were called to do today. And so I just want to leave you guys with that. And this final quote, I saw it on Instagram the other day and it was so freaking good. And I was like, I've got to close the training with that. And you guys, it says, late nights early mornings, a calendar packed with tasks that scare you a little. But isn't this exactly what you signed up for? The grind is the price of greatness. The struggle is the evidence that you're in the game. And every overwhelming day is proof that you're chasing something that most people would never dare to. So stop focusing on the weight of the plate and instead start appreciating what's on it and that you're strong enough to hold it. You can't complain about having a ton on your plate when you said that your goal was to eat. And so I love that. I hope these tips help you guys so much. I'm so proud of you for diving into this, for leveling up, and I truly know that the best is yet to come.